We watched a medium-sized oil tanker several years back called the New Horizon, carrying at least 70,000 deadweight tonnage, leave a Syrian port to deliver much-needed petroleum to an island called Sakhalin off the Russian shores in the North Pacific Ocean. The fuel apparently was delivered, but the New Horizon, which anchored off the island for a short stay, was caught in the middle of an Arctic blast. The ship, unfortunately, after this storm had weakened, was nowhere to be found, and coast watchers would testify that it was never observed in the proximity of the island again. The crew of the ship, though, slowly drifted back to the Syrian port, but no mention was made of the ship again because their mouths had been sealed shut and no one opted to question them further. Then one fall, the Russian military conducted a joint exercise between their military services, where different kinds of commercial ships were targeted by a pretend terrorist group, and it was the responsibility of the military to take back the ships at any cost. During this exercise, Russian submarines were allowed to target derelict ships in the pretense that they had been boarded by terrorists and the only way to save the hostages was to sink the ship. Unfortunately, on this one day, a ship that resembled the New Horizon was observed being sunk, but there was no identifying features that could accurately make the claim. Right after this exercise concluded, though, an oil tanker appeared in the Mediterranean Sea, but unlike its predecessor, it appeared right after a storm had passed through the vicinity. Unfortunately for America, their defense satellite imagery at the time was not available, and it is guessed that the first appearance of this particular ship and the routine service on this satellite was more than coincidental. So this missed opportunity on America's part allowed the ship's owner, whoever they might be, to introduce the vessel to the petroleum shipping lanes of the Atlantic Ocean. The tanker, though, was also called the New Horizon, but its appearance was much sharper than its older tanker, and it was larger in size, carrying probably 150,000 deadweight tonnage. Military intelligence heads turned, because for some reason this New Horizon was retrofitted and no one knew why. But analysis and speculation as to its cargo was free. And even though America has a standing fleet of high-flying bombers that carries nuclear payloads on a 24-hour-a-day basis in the event someone launches the first strike, their sole purpose is to return the same level or higher of retaliatory firepower. A lone ship conceivably could make it easily to the American shorelines on three different waterways: the Pacific, the Atlantic, or the Gulf of Mexico. And a well-armed ship could deliver a serious blow to the policy makers that run our country. So vigilance is maintained as the Americans keep an eye on a specific ship. And the commander of the USS Pacify, Jeffrey Reason, was adamant about what he thinks but does not know. You might have fooled the Africans into thinking you are something you're not, but on the monitors we use to scan your hull, we can hear the vodka being swilled. The jokes we hear you telling your buddies about Americans are funny, but not as bad as the jokes we tell about your breath. Garlic is supposed to be used in moderation, not as a weapon to make an enemy cry. You want us to believe you're carrying oil to the New World, but the ship rides too high on the sea. We also heard the shots today, but it would take a larger caliber shell to penetrate our hull. But merchant seamen do not carry or freely use the armament currently displayed as they were being shot from your aft. And this is just more evidence that your deliberate silence and concealment dictate our presence. So just to remind you that we don't need periscope depth to see you, and we're not naive enough to believe you don't know of our presence. We cozied up in our metal tube, but for how long is not up to us, because your future lies entirely in one scape of a torpedo from a high "how are you" stretch of water to a goodbye, you're gone, target destroyed. And we can't miss at this range. So the next step is yours, forward or back.